Hello everyone. Welcome back to Today News K-Wave. Small moments often get lost in the spotlight, but they're where the most honest meanings hide. In a world filled with cameras, cheers, and endless schedules, there are quiet moments that are almost never talked about. One of them is the moment when a cell phone is in Jimin and Jungkook's hands. Not when they're staring at the screen for work, nor when the phone is an official documentation tool, but when that small object becomes a private space unintentionally open to the public eye. Jimin and Jungkook's relationship has long been observed from various angles. Many talk about their laughter on stage, spontaneous gestures behind the scenes, or their seemingly natural chemistry. But there's one type of moment that rarely gets serious attention: their interactions through or around their cell phones. Yet, in the modern era, cell phones are more than just communication tools. They are extensions of a person's thoughts, feelings, and habits. The way someone holds their phone, who they turn to after reading a message, or who they share their screen with often speaks louder than their words. When Jungkook is seen with one phone between them, something feels different. It's not dramatic, but rather simple. They're not trying to create a moment, nor do they seem aware that the moment is being observed. Jimin might lean in slightly, his eyes following what's on the screen, while Jungkook holds his phone casually, as if there are no personal boundaries to maintain. This almost non-existent distance is often overlooked, yet it's precisely where a level of comfort that can't be faked is revealed. Interestingly, these moments almost always occur in the midst of intense activity. While waiting for their turn, during a break in practice, or when the atmosphere calms down after a high-energy moment. In such contexts, the choice to share a screen is no small matter. It demonstrates trust, a sense of security, and the habit of sharing personal space. Not everyone is comfortable letting others into the small world of their phone, where private messages, interests, and even fatigue are hidden from public view. It's rare for people to discuss how Jimin's expression changes when he sees something on Jungkook's phone, or how Jungkook reflexively adjusts his position so Jimin can see more clearly. It's not about the screen's content, but rather about an unconscious bodily response. This kind of response usually only happens when two people are very familiar with each other. There's no awkwardness, no forced distance, just a natural flow that just flows naturally. This second is rarely discussed not because the moment is invisible, but because it's too quiet to be significant. The public often looks for something big, obvious, and easily labeled. Yet human connection is most real in the unannounced. A shared phone, a stifled chuckle, or a comfortable silence often speaks louder than any statement. In Jikook's context, the phone symbolizes a safe space. In a world that demands constant presence, that small screen becomes a place where they can pause. And when that space is shared, we see a form of closeness that doesn't need to be overly defined. There are no claims, no grand narratives, just a real togetherness. Perhaps this is why this moment is rarely discussed. It doesn't lend itself to sensationalism. It's too human, too simple, but that's precisely why it's so precious. In one almost imperceptible second, a phone bears witness to a relationship built not by the spotlight, but by small, consistent habits. And for those who pay attention, that moment is the most honest. If we stop for a moment and really pay attention, there's a certain quality of silence that emerges every time a phone with Jikook moment occurs. This silence isn't empty, but full. It's filled with familiarity, with a rhythm that's been established for a long time. There's no need to explain, no effort to be interesting. That's precisely where its specialness lies. In a world that moves quickly and demands instant reactions, this kind of silence is a rarity. Often, when someone holds a phone near another person, a protective reflex kicks in. The screen tilts slightly, a finger moves quickly to close an app, or the body subtly creates distance. But with Jimin and Jungkook, that reflex is barely noticeable. Their stance is open, their movements relaxed, as if they have nothing to hide. It's not about the contents of the phone, but about a deep-rooted trust. This kind of trust isn't usually born from big conversations, but from long, consistent time spent together. There's something captivating about how time seems to slow down in these moments. Amidst their busy schedules, the noise, and the pressures of work, the 1 second they share their phone screen feels like a pause. Not a deliberate pause, but a natural one. This moment is rarely discussed because it lacks a clear structure. It's not part of a choreography, nor is it a planned piece of content. It simply appears, then disappears without a trace, except to those who are truly paying attention. Phone with Jikook also shows a side of relationships that doesn't rely on words. There aren't always big reactions, not always loud laughter. Sometimes it's just a small nod, a faint smile, or a brief glance that meets each other before returning to the screen. This kind of communication is often only possible when two people already understand each other's silent language. A language that isn't taught, but learned through long periods of togetherness. What's less noticed is how their bodies automatically adjust. Jungkook might lower his phone slightly to meet Jimin's eye level. Jimin might subconsciously lean in, not to seek attention, but because it's the position that feels most comfortable. There's no sense of contrivance. These small movements happen too quickly to be planned, too natural to be faked. That's precisely why this moment feels authentic. In many cases, the public tends to fill in the blanks with assumptions. When something isn't explicitly explained, people scramble to assign meaning. But there's value in letting this moment remain as it is. Not all intimacy needs to be defined. Not all interactions need to be labeled. Sometimes, simply acknowledging that a relationship exists built on comfort and trust, without needing to expand it into a narrative larger than reality, is enough. This second is rarely discussed because it refuses to be a spectacle. It offers no conflict, no climax. It simply offers presence. And in the world of entertainment, a quiet presence is often overshadowed by flashy details. Yet, for those who understand the dynamics of human relationships, this presence is the most meaningful. The phone, in this context, becomes a kind of bridge. Not a bridge to the outside world, but a small bridge between two people who have long shared space. The screen may display trivial things, perhaps even something momentarily relevant. But what matters is not the content, but the fact that the moment was shared. Sharing attention is an often underestimated form of closeness, yet it's one of the most honest indicators of a healthy relationship. When we look back on these moments, there's a sense of time, that what seems simple is actually the result of a long process. Nothing is instant. This kind of comfort doesn't emerge overnight. It's built from thousands of small interactions, from shared exhaustion, from laughter that doesn't need to be shown to the camera, and from silences that don't feel awkward. Perhaps another reason this moment is rarely discussed is because it's difficult to explain in sensational language. It's not easily reduced to a short clip with a flashy title. It requires context, patience, and sensitivity to truly understand. And not everyone is willing to take the time for that. But for some, this is precisely where the beauty lies. In a fleeting second, we're reminded that strong relationships are often the simplest. A shared phone, an unguarded distance, and a silence that feels safe. All of it speaks volumes, and perhaps that's why this moment is so rarely talked about, yet so hard to forget. And perhaps that's where the meaning of this rarely talked about moment lies. Not in what's obvious, but in the little things we often overlook. A phone, a barely visible distance, and a comfortable silence. Not every moment needs to be explained, and not every closeness needs to be announced. Sometimes, simply by paying attention, we understand more than words can ever say. Thank you for taking the time to watch until the end. If you find small moments like this meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next discussion.